What does hail damage look like? Hey Austin, Nick Rowell here with Driftwood Builders Roofing out on this beautiful 96 square roof out in the Westminster neighborhood. So the situation was hail hit here and then I came and climbed on top of the roof, was able to find hail damage. The customer filed a claim. I met the adjuster. They agreed with my hail damage. So now Travelers is paying a little north of $62,000 and the customer is getting a brand new roof. So today I'm gonna show you the top 3 ways to find hail damage while on a roof. The first way is to look at the pipes. So as you can see, there's a giant circle right there. That's an easy way to find hail damage on a roof. The second way to find hail damage on a roof is to look at the asphalt shingles. So I'm gonna walk down this valley and I'll show you an example of what I found. You can see a circle right there, hit in the middle of this shingle. That's the second way to find hail damage, by looking at the shingles on the roof. And then the third way to find hail damage on a roof is to do a chalk test. So as you can see, we have this flat surface that's metal. And I looked at it initially and you can't see any hail whatsoever. So I grabbed a piece of chalk and I pressed it hardly down on this. And you can clearly see when I did that there's a circle about that big, because the hail hit that and it's a little bit further down than the rest of the flat metal surface. And those are the top 3 ways you can find hail damage. Another indication of not hail damage was a similar situation here. As you can see, it is a big hole, but it has a line right there. There's a line here. So that is not hail damage, most likely just someone walking by. So another example of hail damage we can see on the gutters is this little thing right there. As you can see, it's a perfect circle. That's a great one. That's a little bit harder to tell. Also a good one. Now, we see this gutter is pretty messed up. However, none of this is hail damage. And so I know so for 2 reasons. The first is that when we look at the gutters that did have hail damage, every single hole was about the same size. As you can see, this is a giant hole, much bigger. You know, sometimes it will be a tiny bit bigger than some of the other pieces, but this is way too big. And as you can see right here, you can see like an indent, like a line. So essentially, when hail hits a gutter, you won't see the line, just the hole. And so as you can see, it's pretty messed up. There's all spots over here, and it's right by this gate. So my hypothesis is that when someone was walking and doing the HVAC, they accidentally, bumped a tube or pipe and it hit this, but this is not hail damage. So this roof is incredibly steep. So today I'm gonna teach you how you can find hail damage without having to go on top of the roof. So the first way is to look at the gutter spouts, and specifically the downspouts. So if you can see here, there's a circle right there. That is hail damage. Sometimes we see lines, which is not hail damage. I'll try and find some examples of those. But a good way to look is check your downspouts for small circles. That's a great way to find hail damage. The second way we can find hail damage without having to go on top of the roof is by looking at the windows. So we'll start with this window. What we usually do is look at the bottom or the sides for window beads, and you'll see like holes and stuff. We don't have any examples here, but what we do is look at the window screen and you see this tick mark right here. That is hail damage. So we circled it, the adjuster came out, agreed with us, and we got insurance to pay for the full roof. And today I'm gonna show you 2 ways you can find hail damage from the ground. So the first way to find hail damage from the ground is on gutter spouts. So you can see this gutter spout right here there's a hole in it that is hail. So hail can, from this angle, hit it, and that's one way to find hail damage without having to go on the roof. The second way you can find hail damage without having to go on the roof is check the window screens. So we walk over here, and a lot of times you see window beads, like little holes in here. We do not see any on this window, but what we do see is that little mark right there. I'll get different angles so you can see it. But we see this mark right there, which is hail damage